So I appreciate you being there, and this is what I learned recently about the changes that Bill 44, the government of province of British Columbia has brought it, and these changes are embedded. If you go to the Act, they are embedded under changes to Section 141. Okay, so our goal today is to quickly talk about some of these things in English, and subsequently we will do also in Hindi. So if there is any question, feel free to ask me at the end, because some of this information is very confusing and I'm only using my own knowledge and understanding about this. Um, so yeah, we can still talk about it. There is nothing wrong.
Just
So
a few housekeeping things. In case anybody gets logged out because of some reason, you can always join back using the same link. We have a 40-minute time limit, but I believe with whatever we have planned out today, everything should fit in properly.
yeah.
And I'll be always watching the chat box. So in case anybody just wanna have a question, they wanna just text, I'll be looking at that and I'll be helping out Amit. Okay.
Thank you again. So according to the BCREA representation on Friday and prior, they said that there was a bill enacted, Strata Title Act in 1966, and then in 2001 was a Strata Property Act. And that's where they brought these changes. And BC is the only province, or was, where the rental restrictions were in place within the strata complexes. So now we are at par, just like everybody else in the province. And so now, very simple, there is no rental restriction on any strata property as far as is governed by the Crown. And for short-term rentals like Airbnb and bread and that the restrictions continue to apply based on whatever municipal restrictions are or the strata restrictions are, they will continue to apply. But rentability is not going to be restricted anymore. Number of days not fixed for any short-term rental, because everybody thinks it's 6 months or less, but truly what the court system, in my opinion, is saying through hearing the lawyer is that the differentiation is based on the intent of the rental, not on the number of days. So if you're renting somebody as a short-term rental, they do in hotels, even they are a unit, they charge them exuberant amount of money, $10,000 per month, for example, for all the cleaning services and this and that, which we normally don't provide in regular rental, right? So then that determines. So why? Because the definition has been given is it's a legally distinct entity as compared to traditional renting dwelling. It's very simple. If you're trying to have a commercial, more business spinning off, you're providing multiple services to the client, it becomes a commercial entity, and then it's legally distinct. So it's not residential as this. The whole thing applies to only residential part of it, not commercial. And there are several cases of Bill of Rights why this legally distinct exists. Anyways, so as a realtor, what we need to look at when we are buying a property as first-time home buyer or not, that whether there are these short-term rentals in place in their bylaws. Like, for example, I know I was involved in a sale at 366 sorry, 438 Waddington Time. Now I'm talking about my own house, 438. So we were at this 438 Waddington Drive. Yes, Arjun, you never picked up that one. Anyways, so their discussion is whether the rentals are allowed or not allowed, and the short terms and long term, because the bylaws don't dictate any rental restrictions or anything. And the city of Kamloops doesn't have any special bylaw for Airbnb in terms of as long as everything is kept in legal framework, there is a business license out there, and so on and so forth. It's good. Is they are good, right? But again, if there is a restrictions in place, that as a realtor, you got to understand that it's not free for all. So the Airbnb is or the short-term rentals legally distinct entity is still out there, but no other rental restrictions. And same thing is 800 Wahalala Drive. I was involved in selling another unit there, and they had rental restrictions. Now those restrictions have been uplifted, and so it's the purpose really for making these changes is so there are more homes available, more rooms available for the people who can afford, and affordable housing. And especially from our experiences working through international students and following that demographic myself, following the same channel over last 22 years now in Canada, the student tend to find they're happy finding a basement room or two or sharing the spaces, and they don't necessarily put a stress on the traditional rental market if you allow them spaces. So what the government is saying that will allow space in the rental strata properties, that people will be able to sublet the rooms, and they are at least able to and make a human connection. If you're living a senior with a younger guy, you're making that human connection, right? Otherwise it's it's an opportunity to increase the number of rental units or the rooms available, if you want to call it that way, for general public students in particular, because they take up large part of traditional rental dwellings. Now section 133 talks about 55 plus properties. So now that restriction will continue to be available for our so-called senior demographic. I don't know. I think the new senior demographic is 75 plus, right, Arjun? But I mean, they are
That's
quite
right.
quite active up to 75. But anyways, so the advantage point is given at 55 plus, and but they had to be available for renting. So Arjun, you can, as a 20-year-old or 22-year-old, you can own one of these units. You cannot live in the unit, but you can rent it out to somebody who is 55. Do you understand
So
what I'm trying to say?
that would also mean if I was living with someone who's 55 plus, that would work out then.
Oh yeah, that's what they are saying. Yeah, okay, yeah, that well, okay. So again, we have to look into the strata minutes, strata documents now, because in some stratas they don't allow anybody less than 55. Although I think the government is trying to say no, if you have a grandkid and kids and those kind of situation, they should be allowed to live with you and support you when you need them or they need you, vice versa. But I think there is if I remember correctly, even the lawyer was quite confused on that part. He said, well, how are we going to navigate between these two aspects? So they expect some clarification coming up, but is going to happen. So now this also brings to the point some of the older buildings or strata complex. They had an 18 plus, 19 plus, 30 plus um, um, age restrictions on strata, right? They couldn't have children living on the complex, right? So now those will be gone, really, right? So and so most of them are gonna try to switch to 55 plus. Again, if that's the case, rentals allowed, but you have to sort of okay look into okay what else is there, like as a realtor I gotta read, and the person who's buying should read all those minutes and the bylaws, because something could be in the minutes which is not reflective in the bylaws yet, right? So that's possibility. All right. Yeah, I was thinking about using Smith. Too bad he couldn't be there. He got some emergency tonight. But he asked me one day, so I thought I would use my question prop. So again, Bruner Avenue, that little apartment building there. Um, he said, "What if everybody wants just 55 plus?" And I said to him, "Well, that means you have to be grandfathered in. I mean, you will have to be grandfathered in. I mean, you can't change because you already are residing at the property. But if you're buying property in the future and that legislation is passed, then you can. So you got to think about that. But it's just, these are the little things. We are hypothetical too much about it, but rentability has to be there. I mean, if they convert into, they still have to be rentable to 55 plus, right? So that was the point that I was trying to make. All right. Another side note for how we're doing with the time.
On time, we still have a lot of time left, so that's
Perfect.
good.
That's
It's
good.
only
We have time for
7:50.
questions, question and answer. Okay, so just on the side note, foreign buyer ban is coming for 2 years, 2023, 2024. Again, there are a lot of what if around it, and nobody knows for sure, but other than the government. But to me, it's the calendar year. That's what they are doing on January 1st, and then you go on to, so for 2 years. But what I was reading on it specifically, it actually excludes if you are a resident to Canada. So if you're on a study permit or a work permit, not on a temporary visitor visa, right? You know, TRV that we talk about, less than
So
6 months.
visitor visa and super visa would be excluded in this case. So
That's right,
they would be considered
case,
foreign.
and that was the case before too, right? I mean, it's nothing new.
That's right.
Yeah, so that will continue to be available, and currently we are processing a couple cases on that already. And um, and any question on that, feel free to call me anytime, or if we have more time now, later. So that's what I have to say, and it's very clear to me. There are some gray areas in this whole process, but at the same time, it's more simpler because there are no restrictions. So you can't really say, well, which one is which and which now, right? So rental wise, there is no restriction. Seniority wise, they still want to keep that advantage because that's a underserving group sort of thing, and in the special consideration. So 55 plus properties will change, but as a realtor, we got to know and read those minutes word by word, basically, right? Especially this last couple months that you wanna, because news has been going out, and the lawyer was saying he has already changed 7 to 8 strata bylaws in Victoria area, because he was from Victoria. So yes, they have more population, you will see more of those things there, but at the same time, things are happening. So we got to know and understand, like, pay attention and make sure we take the right step and not make the mistake. Mental allowed, 55 available, and yeah, 2 year work permit holders can still continue to buy properties. So these are the three main points for me today. Anybody has any question, I'm open for that, or if you have it.
Thank you, Amit. Mayur, you said even though you're in Vancouver right now, you own a strata property, right? So
That,
did you have any questions in your mind? Anything specific, when you joined this seminar?
I basically wanted to understand this building because our building currently had a restricted rent restriction. Basically, 10% rentals were allowed, and the owners of the building basically don't want rentals, right? So all of them are like in unison that they don't want to put any tenants in, but because there's a law which allows us, right, to rent it out. So if I want to invest probably in Kamloops market or somewhere else, I can rent my current property, because right now it's not. Yeah, that was the main reason I wanted to check out what's the
No, it's
power we have.
available immediately, and I know now you own multiple properties, Mayur, so congratulations to you.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, it's very clear. They say there is no exception. Rentals are allowed other than the Airbnb. So and the lawyer was quite surprised. He was actually, at one point, he actually said, I mean, some of you have been real estate agents for 20 plus years, and it's very simple that they are saying no rental restrictions. So uh, I mean, it couldn't be more simpler than that. And I think the government was quite determined, and he also mentioned at the speed the whole thing was happening, is it was very alarming for them, and they had to do something about it. And the results are yet to be seen, and we hope that they are positive, and they are as good as the analysis is, and that's the whole plan.
I was going through one of the recent reports by BC, the economic plan, the latest economic plan, and they were saying that there's been more intra-provincial immigration towards BC compared to any other province in Canada. So more people are coming to BC, and just like in Kamloops, you can see, and there are a lot of students coming in, but not enough accommodation for everybody, right? So this, this whole thing going on about moving Ravi Khalon to the housing minister, and then moving things around here. This Bill 44. I see all of this as a way to create more housing for all these new people, newcomers in here. So obviously, if people wants to own more properties, there would be more support coming, I believe.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you have to believe on government's long-term plan, right? I mean, it's an investment at the end of the day. We are not talking about anything. You are weighing your option. Okay, do I put my money in GIC? Yes, you have to diversify your investment so we don't lose everything in stock. So, right, there are multiple factors. Why do you invest in real estate? Nothing makes more money than real estate over a period of time. You talk about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And that's where the government plans come effective. If you read their service plan, and you and I read a lot of service plans, right? And then when you start reading a lot of these service plans, then you start understanding, okay, there are the similarities within those plans, and what are those commonalities, and then you start understanding the song, everybody's playing basically, right? So it's very much similar to that, and it's needed. That's what they're saying, and government of the time, that's what the decision is, and that's what we have to live with. But there won't be, Mayur, good news for you. I know you and I talked about that last, I think 2 months ago, about something like that, or maybe 3 now.
Yep.
That now there are no more rental restrictions.
Right. So
Right.
my understanding about this, like government has removed restriction, right? Which means that there are many places for rent, but still the rent is pretty high. Why is that?
The
Because
rent,
obviously there's a competition, right? Because
okay.
now everyone is available to rent it out. Before there were no one available to rent it out, but still the rental prices are going way higher. So what
Okay.
is good, right? Is it good to keep the property and rent it out, or is it good to keep basically flip the property, for example, like to buy another newer property? Okay,
Well,
this is
then,
not a rental question, it's more of an investment question, but yeah.
well, I always say, if you don't have to sell it, you don't need to sell it.
Okay.
So why? I mean, it's giving you money. Is it taking money from you? Is it being a negative energy on you?
No, the way they are trying to balance out the market, right? The government is
No, no,
trying
no,
to
no, no, no.
balance.
Okay, so don't get my question. You're mixing the two. You ask yourself, you ask me a question. It's a question of investment for you, not the market. The market is driven by market supply and demand. You want to buy or sell a property is your need, not just the market, right? You can mix the two, because the market is saying, government of the time believes they're going to be a lag period. Right now, a lot of these properties going to come slowly in the market. Government has literally given them May until March 2023 to make a lot of these adjustments, right? If people they are not available right away. A lot of these properties are not available for investors to buy right away either. So they're going to be at least 3 to 4 to 6 months, or maybe up to a year period, where you start seeing the effect of these additional units coming into the marketplace. I don't see them. They're going to be just like that all of a sudden, because the people are not selling right now. They're not getting good value for their money, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're not selling. So I don't need to sell. Why should I sell it?
Mhm.
So their units are available, but if they are not available for a trade, if they are not available for a rental space, right? I mean, somebody can buy the unit, no, not rent it out, leave it empty, right? So now in that case, they have empty home tax in certain jurisdiction, not everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So they have different strategies in place. But the question you are asking as an investor is, do I sell it or do I keep it, right?
Right. Because
And
I'm trying to figure out because the rates are going high and the interest rates are going high, right? So obviously we are not getting the value because people are not willing to buy. They are just negotiating when we try to sell the property, right?
but
So
if you sell in this market, Rupesh, no, we were talking about this market. In some market, the rent, the condo market is down 18% a year.
Mhm.
So that means you're an investor. Again, if you're in a stock market, would you sell everything when it's a low point? You want
No,
to hang
no,
on to that until you
yeah,
start actually being a little bit better.
yeah.
It's
I
the
know.
same thing.
I've been hearing. The thing is, so let me give my example, right? So basically I plan to buy a bigger house. But again, to buy a house, obviously I have to sell my property, which doesn't give me a proper value, which I'm expecting. So
Well,
this
then
is
you
the
have to
reason,
pay less down payment too, right?
right? So now what's happening? Yeah, the realtors over here are basically saying that since you are not gonna make you can negotiate when you want to buy a bigger house, you can sell this one for lower one. So basically there's a difference which is obviously compensated properly.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where I'm getting confused. That should it sell or should I just take a rental property again and just try to invest in rental market, because that's where right now the money is. We're getting good rents everywhere.
Yeah, I
Think,
think
Mayur, in your case, you might have to look into a more, personalized approach because I'm not sure if Amit knows the exact situation of all of your properties. So maybe you might want to sit
Yeah,
together, look at your exact specific situation and come out with a strategy than, playing guessing game
yeah,
yeah,
at this
this is
stage.
without knowing the numbers and how much savings you are making and if it's effective or not, it's really difficult to say because there are many variables involved in both of them, really.
yeah. I know. I want to
Yeah.
take the
But
conversation
thank
somewhere
you.
else.
Thank you, Mayur. We have 7 more minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, this would be the perfect time.
Good for Sidhesh Stratas in 800 Walala. So you got 119 units available now. 118. One was already available.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good example, right? That's a very good example of how this can change. And now instead of one person or two people living there, potentially up to 4 or 5 students living and innovating a good sizable strata. I mean, you have been having a lot of good students and rentals with you, right, Sudesh?
Yeah. I've been fortunate so far. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the reputation can be damaging, but if you have somebody living upstairs or the owner living sharing the space, just like today's situation is great. I mean, covers the mortgage, covers everything,
You,
right?
Amit.
So
Thank you,
yes, sir.
Arjun.
Thank you, Vish. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Ji.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sudesh.
Thank
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Mayur.
So
Thank
system
you.
will
Thank
kick
you.
everyone out. So if
Thank
anyone's
you.
interested to continue the conversation over in Hindi, we'll be still, available in the same link. So we'll see you all there.